Okay, welcome everyone. This is the KubeVirt community meeting on 13th of January 2021. The first item on today's agenda is, I believe, from David.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to cut the version 0.37 release. And when I did that, I hit a error publishing to the Quay application registry. And I didn't even know exactly what this was, what we were doing with it, but it's related to the OLM bundle. I don't know who's actually using this. It might not be anyone, but we are in a situation where I don't think we can continue publishing there now that we've incremented to our version 1 due to some kind of strange publishing artifacts that are persistent from previous releases that invalidate our CSVs.
Can we somehow verify if this even works? I mean, I suspect also that no one is using it. I don't think that we ever updated it then, actually. I think we're just pushing this, but not updating it then on the visible end or something. So I'm not sure if this can even consumed, whatever we push.
I don't even know how it's consumed. I don't see it advertised anywhere. I'm not sure what it is, to be honest. So I'm kind of reaching out here to see if anyone else knows what's being done with this or if it's being used. If no one does.
It comes from a time where HCO did not do this. So I think it's a leftover kind of. Mark Sluiter should know a little bit more about it.
He did post about it, but there was still no indication of how somebody would consume this and if anyone is. So that's what I'm bringing up here. If anyone has any details about who might be using this, or if you're using it yourself, bring that up. Otherwise, I'm proposing that we deprecate this because I don't think anyone wants to maintain it. I don't want to maintain it, especially if there's no value here. So there's no value. I'm proposing that we get rid of it and we just continue with the publishing of the artifacts the way we've done in the past, minus this application registry that I don't think is being used. If somebody is using it, then we'll have a further discussion on what we think we could do to resolve this, if anything. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, that's it for my topic. I just wanted to raise that and see if there was any objections.
No objections, but just one question. So how do we make sure that no one is using it? So should we give like a time after this, after today, for anyone to speak up?
Well,
or
I sent a message on the mailing list through the thread about the release blocker being blocked. I think what I said there was I'm going to give it 24 hours. If we remove the publishing logic,
24 hours,
we can always add it back if we need to. We can make a new release just to add a new version 37.1 published to this application registry if it turns out somebody's using it. So I guess what I'm getting at, there's not a lot of risk that I see in not publishing unless somebody's got a critical use case that's leveraging this, and then we'll find out and we can reintroduce it.
I see no risk either.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Okay, so the next topic that we have, the regular agenda, I don't know if it's actually regular agenda, the bug scrub. So maybe I will jump.
Yeah,
just
please announce the summit, but before we jump into this.
I will just add a quick note on the KubeVirt summit preparation. So in the notes, you'll find a link. This is a reminder. There was a follow-up on David's message before the last year already, that we are preparing this KubeVirt Summit event scheduled to happen February 9 and 10th of half day each day. There's a link there to the working document about preparation. Right now, we have a few ideas for content on the two tracks, contributor and user focused tracks. However, at this point, we still don't have any like complete proposal. So this is kind of an encouragement to anyone who might be interested to propose topics. And I don't know, David, if you want to add something more. We don't have any, I mean, we're working also on the details on the logistics. This will be announced as soon as possible, but obviously this will be open to anyone to attend. Again, details on how to attend will be made available as soon as possible. But in terms of content, we would like to start moving on a schedule, on a concrete schedule. Topics that are on the list at the moment or on the head, like for the contributor track, is discussion on, continue the discussion that was started a while ago on the road to V1. Another topic that is on the list is actually a follow-up of some of the items that were mentioned in last week's community call on how to contribute, or in other previous calls by Stuart, how to contribute, formalizing, let's say, the process of contributing to KubeVirt, how, explain how to, and discuss how to become a member, etc. So that's a follow-up. A topic on how to contribute to KubeVirt, by the way. Anyway, I will not talk too much more. There are links to the proposal tracker. Feel free to follow up. And David, any additional comments, or anyone, comments, questions?
No, that sounds good. Do we have any sort of guideline regarding the deadline that we would like these submissions to be submitted by?
Right. Yeah, because we didn't actually do a formal call for proposals. We didn't have a matching deadline for the CFP. Yeah, great question. Yeah, I know it's not a formal date, but it's as soon as possible, let's say, yeah, it's a very informal call for contributions. So the criteria will be a bit, the proposals are to be made in the open as pull requests to the community repo, and basically acceptance will be on, first come, first serve to some extent. I mean, we need to, after everyone agrees that it's a valid topic. So, and we only have, so the total span of the event is 8 hours. So it's not a huge amount. I mean, there's not a lot of room for many topics. So I know this is not a real answer to your question. So we haven't set a deadline yet. We can agree on one if needed. We obviously need to start populating the agenda as soon as possible. The hope at the moment is we have a few ideas and proposals, again, not any of them like formal yet, but I believe that there are enough ideas already to cover the whole agenda, to populate the whole agenda. It's just about getting them in and decided and agreed upon soon. Make sense?
That makes sense to me. I've been telling people try to get it in by the end of the month. I think there is risk that some of these topics are potentially overlapping, and given the short amount of time that we have, it would be best, I think, for the contributors' sake to get their abstracts in as soon as possible, because that allows us to see where the overlap occurs and help guide perhaps like how we can take different directions with different content if there is overlap, so people can still get their chance to present. but just kind of make sure that we're doing it in the most efficient way. So that's the only risk. And I only saw a few instances of where that might be possible. So it's not a huge risk, but it should be a motivating factor, I think, to go ahead and get those in early if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, as soon as possible. And also not only overlap, but I also see some of the topics, I believe there are potential opportunities to collaborate between other people. Like, well, it might, you can see it as overlap, but like things like snapshot and migrations might, I don't know, have some overlap, or I don't know. Another one is like in the use cases front. So nested clusters can also have some, can have a different take on the session, can be about discussing a use case and might expand to other use cases, or it may focus on a technical, much more on a technical aspect, and therefore we could talk also about, KubeVirt as there was interest for a while ago in the community by another member on a Terraform provider for KubeVirt. This could be a mixed topic. Anyway, the conclusion is as soon as possible, get those proposals in, and therefore we can get things in shape.
I can't speak for others, but for me, when it comes to call for proposals, the as soon as possible means like 2 days before the deadline. So maybe setting one would help with help some people getting them submitted.
Yeah, that's important. Just setting a date makes people actually target something. Otherwise, if it's nebulous, that's reasonable. We can just throw out an arbitrary date, and then, but well, yeah. I don't want to say what I'm thinking, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Is okay. End of the month could be kind of a natural target. Maybe you can review status, and let's do something. Let's chat about it after the call a bit, and we will send, because the message you sent was, again, like almost 1 month ago. We will send a reminder to the list and include a deadline. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we can jump to the bug scrub. Peter?
Sure. So this is take one for our KubeVirt/KubeVirt bug scrub. I'm sharing the link to the issues in the chat. Yeah, let me share the screen that make this more appealing. Where is the window? Can you see a list of issues?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So I'm not 100% sure how to do this, but we have the best forum possible to handle this. So let's just start. Unless there is somebody who wants to raise their own issue, I would take them from the newest one to the oldest one. The goal is to either close the issue or make sure that it's being addressed, or make it addressable. So let's start from the very top. Here's issue downgrading from 036. I see this being addressed, but do we support downgrading at all?
Yeah, we should. So what's happening, I think, when I read into this, was that the downgrade, there's two ways to downgrade. There's the first way is to simply install the old operator. And that will, if you don't have a target version set in your KubeVirt CR, it's just going to match the operator's release version. The problem with that is the install manifests for each individual operator aren't necessarily compatible with a newer version of KubeVirt. So the operator has to have RBAC that allows to deploy the newest version of KubeVirt. And if you downgrade and an RBAC changed between the newest release of KubeVirt and the previous release, then if you just downgrade the operator, what's happening is we're stripping away those RBAC permissions from the operator, and it can't actually influence the downgrade of the operand at that point. So the only way that I see this possible to support this, and we do support this, is to remain on the latest operator, and you have to actually set the target version or the image tag in the KubeVirt CR to the previous version. And that's going to allow the newest operator to downgrade the operand to the previous version. That sounds really complex. It just means use the latest operator, and then when you define your KubeVirt CR, set the version to the older version that you want to deploy, and that should actually work.
So there is no bug fixing needed. We are just waiting for a confirmation.
Yeah, so I made the comment, tried to describe how that's done. I want to verify. It should work. We actually kind of test this. So this is the workflow that's actually in our functional test suite. I suspect that it's going to be fine. I just kind of want to get some feedback before we close it.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks, David. All right, let's move on then. This is getting addressed. The next one is enable in VM XML for reclaiming space when using Ceph RBD images. Ceph RBD images are finally provisioned blah, blah, blah. After deleting files from the images. The image size remains the same and thus ends up being filling up the storage pool. Do we have anybody from storage or anybody who follows this? What issue is this? All right, I take this no. I will try to follow up offline with somebody who handles storage.
Yeah, let's ensure that you assign someone from storage, like Michael Henriksen or
okay. Let's do it right now.
Or /assign. Yeah, it's an issue. You have to use /assign. CC doesn't do it.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Okay, let's move on. It smells like storage again. Image upload file using raw images.
This sounds like the target PVC is too small. Or something. Yeah. Assigning to storage again.
Could it be gigabytes versus gigabytes or something silly like that?
Can be something like this. Yeah, it looks like this, right? It's pretty close.
Yes,
look at the size difference.
Yes. Well, at least Michael has something.
Yeah. The image size is a little bit more than 40 gigabyte, anticipated 40 gigabyte.
We can try to answer him ourselves.
But you can just write here that it's probably, he probably needs a bigger, just needs to specify a bigger PVC. Great.
Okay, awesome. And we can use the sig label, I guess, for storage to make things a little organized. Okay, moving on. CRD rest coverage tool stopped working and artifacts are no longer uploaded. It was reported by Marcin, and
he's working on it.
Okay, here.
Yeah, he self-assigned it, so we're nothing we need to do.
Okay, we should be good then. Report data from guest agent to VM status field. Again from Marcin, and he got answer from Eddie just 2 days ago, so we can consider this being tackled, I guess. And can move on.
So yeah, at least nothing we need to immediately do here.
Awesome. VM continues 5 minutes, then fails with dirty virt launcher shutdown. And it hasn't been addressed. Rings any bells?
We have to ask some questions here, like if the VM reacts to ACPI shutdowns. If not, it will just wait until the timeout is over, and then it will just kill itself.
Mind if I assign you, Roman, on this one?
Yeah, sure. Give it to me.
Hey guys, good morning.
Oh, hey. Go ahead.
I joined late, so I had an issue. I don't know if you guys have already discussed because I joined late. I just wanted to bring it up. So I'm using K3s with KubeVirt. So have you guys used it before with K3s? Or have you seen any issues with K3s? Because when I'm trying to create a VM using KubeVirt with K3s, it's actually going to it's actually going to internet to validate the VM rather than going to API server on the K3s.
What? The internet? What?
So it's
I don't understand.
So for validating, when it's creating the VM, it's going to KubeVirt.io rather than going to
What?
What? Oh wow.
Do you?
Yeah, I see.
Is this your?
This is the one. This is the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it goes to HTTP somewhere in KubeVirt.io.
Where do you see that it goes to KubeVirt.io?
You see that post HTTP.
Oh, that's a service account.
Yeah, service account. Not like, sorry, not KubeVirt.io, but whatever this is. Yeah.
Yeah, so that should be the DNS entry that's local to your cluster. It should be.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there is no. This is actually this Virt API KubeVirt just SVC is actually inside the namespace where KubeVirt is installed. So
okay.
After .svc, you could then also see something like .kubevirt and then .cluster.local. That would be even the most fully one.
Right,
but this should be resolved. So you're not the first one reporting exactly such an issue on K3s. I know that people somehow always manage to make it running, but I have no clue what they then always did that it starts to work. I think one thing would be to find out if the network provider is working. So basically, what we require to work is that that one pod can reach through a service another pod, not more.
Right.
And further than that, DNS needs to work. So you might be able to reach a pod to another pod using the pod IP, but this is requiring DNS to be enabled within the cluster, which might be the problem. Context deadline exceeded. It's unclear if it can resolve an IP address or really what. I don't really know what that would.
What I have seen that what this normally means is that it could resolve the IP address and it is connecting to the service, but nothing is listening on the service or nothing is routed forward to a port behind the service.
Okay. So a really easy way to test this would be to try to just start up a pod and send some sort of request to the API server.
Okay.
And see if you can at least establish a connection.
And even simpler, also try to just do something like kubectl get pods dash all namespaces and just see if something is crash looping or really everything is up.
No,
That would be
yeah, everything is up and running.
Yeah.
There I don't see any issues when I do that. Everything seems to be running, no issues. And I actually tried actually having the CNI also changed on the K3s to Calico, and maybe I was thinking that was the issue. But when we work when we install this with K8s with the native Kubernetes, it works fine without any issue. But with K3s only, we are running into issues.
Yeah.
Another area to look at is the the K3s API server logs, and seeing if for some reason, so what's happening is during the validation of this object, you're talking to the Kubernetes or the K3s API server, and then it's calling back out to our service to validate that object, and then it's going back to the K3s API server to make the decision on what to do next. So if the connection between the K3s API server and our KubeVirt service that does the validation is broken, or it can't resolve, or whatever is happening there, that could be another explanation.
Okay.
Are you running it on one K3s node or multiple ones?
No, one.
Okay, yeah. I recently switched my own single node to K3s, and I had a similar problem with the cert manager webhook, but I don't remember how I resolved it. But I wanted to try KubeVirt, so I can try on my system, on my K3s that's very fresh, and see if I can replicate it.
Okay, awesome. That will be helpful. Thank you.
So process-wise, what do we do about this issue? I mean, it doesn't look like an issue in KubeVirt per se, more like an issue of the underlying infrastructure. So shall we just close it or wait for confirmation? What should we do in these cases?
I think it's useful to leave it open for discussion. I think we know that it's not likely a bug in KubeVirt, but if somebody hits this in the future, they're going to Google for it, and it's helpful to see how it's resolved, even if it's not related to like a code change. That's my opinion, but anyone else?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and process-wise, I see I was searching for issues while you were talking about the issue, and I saw an apparently duplicate one. This is 4732. I think 4731 might be a duplicate of this one, Raj?
Yeah, you're right.
Right, okay, so maybe the other one can be closed as a duplicate then.
The other one has more details. Do we see more details on the other one, or is it the same thing?
They look the same.
The same, yeah. Okay.
I see this one was already commented on and is older, so I will just comment on this one and close the other one in favor of that. Okay, so if you could confirm that the connectivity there works fine, and if you manage to make it function with KubeVirt, it would be cool if you commented the process on the issue. So like David said, people can find it if I hit the same problem.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
This is Chris Caligari. I also created issue 673 under the KubeVirt.github.io repo to have a quick start page created for K3S. We've been talking about that for some time, and it seems like it's about time to get that page created.
What a coincidence. Cool. Would you find it useful if I linked the
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's why I'm mentioning it.
All right. Okay, so let's see how this resolves, but now we can move on. All right, Kubernetes 120 fails on IPv6 test. So the issue with this one is that it's not anything horrible. The problem is that our vertctl allows people to create services for IPv6 or dual-stack clusters as well, just by setting ---- IPv6. Issue is that between Kubernetes 119 and 120, the API for IPv6 or dual-stack on services has changed, and we have to adjust to this change. And it's already assigned and should be worked on in the next week or two, I'm hoping. So in case there's anybody out there using vertctl with services, you may hit this on IPv6. If you're just creating the service manually using YAML, you shouldn't have this issue at all. The next one, addvolume and removevolume have nobody in our API reference. Roman, do you know whether Alexander is aware of this one, or should we do some nudging there? Roman?
Sorry, I was talking to myself.
At least you got the opportunity to rehearse.
So maybe Alexander missed it. He didn't reach out to me or anything. But what we need, it's like I had one guy who wanted to try this out, and the only way he could even see what to do was going to our unit tests or to our functional tests, because the documentation is incomplete. So yeah, so this needs to be fixed.
Mind pinging Alexander just so he confirms that he's aware of it. All right. Okay, flaky CI. Reported 20 days ago. This is no longer a flaky test. It fails every time for oh, that's
okay.
You got me in the first part.
So I guess this is something on our test which doesn't work with some OpenShift assumptions.
Okay, we'll look into this one. I just
yeah, I can just say that on the KubeVirt CI part, it's not failing. I checked Flake Finder and so on. It's not failing there.
Great. I'll assign it to somebody after you go. All right. Feature request, something interesting. Live update of VMI labels and annotations. It's 20 days old and there's no reaction, so let's go through it. Annotations get carried from VMs to the VMI and to the Virt launcher pod. Same is true for the labels, but it would be nice to live update the VMI labels and annotations. So when I change label of VM, it gets propagated down.
Yeah, this is. I would even go as far as say that this is a bug, not a feature request.
All right. this. Do we have any good adept to work on this one?
I don't know who has some spare time.
Okay, but I mean, okay, so this is another situation of scrubbing we can get into for sure. So
just assign it to me or David. We will find someone.
Okay. I mean, we don't need to tackle all the issues right away, I guess. It's like we need to make sure that the issue is trashed and we know whether we want to address it or not. And
I'm not sure this is a bug, Roman.
Well, I know it's a bug because I implemented all this and I wanted to have it work like this and I forgot it to do.
Well, let's say, let's talk about it for a second. If we're saying that labels from a VM, let me make sure I'm getting this right. Labels from a VM should be carried to the VMI dynamically?
Oh, like, it's from a VM. I thought he changed it on a VMI and it's not propagated.
No, carried from VMs to. Okay.
No, this
let me make sure I'm reading this right.
Okay, yeah.
VMs, volumes, annotation, pod.
Yeah. No, this works as expected, actually.
And
live update the VMI's labels in it. We're not going to do that. No. So there's the conflict here is that if somebody, we don't really know what to do that's correct because if somebody said something directly on the VMI, then we'd clobber it potentially with a VM annotation, and I don't think that would be expected.
Yeah. What I thought this is about we really change labels and annotations on the VMI directly, and they're not propagated to the pod. I think that's also not happening, but this is a bug. But this one here is something which I would prefer to not implement.
I care very little about the VMI to pod one. If somebody finds that useful, then we can talk about it.
You normally need it when you have controllers and you want to take out a VMI from the controller so that you can investigate what's going on with it. Because when you change the labels, the services stop routing traffic to it and you can investigate it. That's the use case for that, which you also have on pods.
Ah. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if we're there yet. Well, I guess we are there yet with the replicas.
Yeah.
All right.
For VMIs, we need that therefore, but this should not be implemented here.
Yeah, different discussion. Makes sense.
So, David or Roman, would you mind commenting there with explanation why we don't want this?
Sure. What was it? 4711?
Yes. Yeah. Cool. All right. I think that the 20 minutes have passed, and I don't want to drag this too long, so we would get sick of it. So, unless somebody wants to raise their issue, I would call it a day and continue with this the next week.
Sounds great. Was really a good session. Thanks for starting that.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, see you guys next week.